guys, today I'm filming my 5 top favorite thriller authors, so let's get started. The first one on my list, and is probably my least favorite out of the 5, is going to be Claire McIntosh. I have only read I Let You Go, but I believe it was a 5 out of 5 from me. It was so good. It's about this mom that her son gets killed when she lets him cross the street, and it just kind of haunts her for the rest of her life. It causes her to get a divorce. It causes her to just kind of lose sight of who she is. And the story is kind of told in reverse a little bit. It's actually pretty wild, and I did not expect the plot twist at all. But as a new mom, this was hard to read. I clutched onto Alyssa the entire time I was reading it because it was just so painful, because I can't imagine losing her, and it was just a tough book for me to get through, but it was so good. I highly recommend her. Her writing is fantastic. There's just not enough good things I can say about this book. I hope to read, I think it's Let Me Lie, soon. The next one that I have is probably my 4th favorite out of these, and it is Jilly McMillan. I loved What She Knew, and I have The Perfect Girl, and I think there's one other, but I don't remember what it's called, or it's Odd Child Out. That's what it's called. And I believe she actually had another one just recently come out as well, and this book was super good. This is about a mom that her kid gets kidnapped while they're out in the woods. She lets him go ahead of her, and he rounds a corner, and she's like, oh, he'll still be there. Well, when she rounds the corner, he's gone. And again, another child getting kidnapped, and it was really hard for me to read. But at this point I was pregnant. I did not actually have Alyssa, so this one was a little bit easier to read, but still pretty tough for me. Again, a 5 out of 5. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time I read it. I did not predict anything that happened in this book. It surprised me the entire way through. Her writing's a little bit more, I would call it literal, I guess, where there's not a whole lot of prose, there's not a whole lot of fancy writing. It's very much just this happened, and this happened, and that happened, and it was a little bit refreshing because there weren't huge words that I didn't understand, so that was nice. Okay, now the next one, the next 3 are gonna be really hard for me to justify first, second, and third, I guess, if I was to rate them like that. But this one I've only read 1 book from her, so that's why she's getting put in this 3rd spot. That is Ruth Ware, and all I've read is In the Dark, Dark Wood, and this is about, let me make sure I'm getting this right. Yes. This one is about a hen party, or as we call it in the States, a bachelorette party, and this girl gets invited to one from somebody that she hasn't talked to in a very long time. And the weird thing is, they're getting married to her ex-boyfriend. So why is she being invited? Over the course of this book, things take weird turns, and I love it, and it is not conventional at all, and this is one of those books that I was scared to go to bed. It's not necessarily that scary, I'm just that much of a chicken, but it was just so good. I think I'm gonna say that for all of these. They're just so good. Another 5 stars. Just the characters and the psychology behind them, they're so detailed, and I love it. And it's a short book, it's not very long, and I was super impressed with how much she could pack into such a small book. So this next one, you will notice an entire chunk of this is gone, and it's because I have read 3 books from this author, and I have loved every single one of the ones that I've read, and that is Peter Swanson. I absolutely love his books. I've read 3. I've read The Kind Worth Killing, Her Every Fear, and The Girl with a Clock for a Heart. Yes, they are gorgeous covers. This one's my favorite. I love this cover so much. This is also my favorite book, so fitting. The only issue I had with him is that I read this one first, and so I didn't like these as much. This got a 5 stars, it would have gotten a 10 out of 5 stars if I could have given it to it. These 2 got 4 out of 5. I think this one got a 3 out of 5, and then this one got a 4 out of 5. But they're still good books, and they're all short, but the characters are seriously messed up. These characters are seriously just some of the most unapologetic, wild, crazy characters, and I absolutely love them. Like, the characters in this book were just kind of like meh, but some of them had such like endearing, weird features about them that made them just like, I don't want to get rid of these people. I love these people, and I don't know why, because I've only known them for like 180 pages. It's not long, but this was my least favorite, but the characters still dragged me in so far. This one is about a guy that he doesn't really think anything special is going to happen to him, and then all of a sudden one of his ex-girlfriends, I think, reappears, and she needs his help getting rid of a mob boss, and it's like it just throws his whole world upside down, and it's actually a really good book. This one, Her Every Fear, is about this girl that she trades apartments with her cousin, so she moves to Boston. Yes, she moves to Boston, and her cousin moves to London, somewhere in England. He moves to somewhere in England because he has a business trip that he has to do out there, and she's been kind of scarred with like falling in love with people, and like her past boyfriend did some stuff to her that was like really messed up. So just I thought this book was really good because at first I thought it was going to be kind of goofy because she meets this guy in her cousin's apartment building that's like, hey, whatever, like, we're cool, and he's like the weirdest little dude, but then he starts like doing some stuff that's kind of questionable, and I won't say any more because that'll spoil it, but there's some weird stuff that go on in this book. And then this one, oh my gosh, this book is so good. You all need to read it right now. I know Books and Lala really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. It's about this guy that he's kind of sick and tired of his wife, and he's coming back from a business trip, and he meets this girl at a bar, and they get to talking, and they're like, you know what? No secrets. Like, this is the only time we're ever gonna know each other. Like, what's your deepest, darkest secret? And he's like, I wanna kill my wife. And she's like, okay, let's do it. Like, what? Like, okay, that's fine. Like, yep, let's just plot to kill his wife. That's fine. That's how this book starts. And I think that's why I like Peter Swanson's characters so much, is because they are so unapologetically the way they are. Like, they just don't care, especially in The Kind Worth Killing. They are such weird characters, but I love them so much. Okay, and the last author that I have to talk about will come as no surprise if you all have watched my weekly vlogs. Riley Sager. I recently read both of his published books so far, and I have absolutely loved them. It is The Last Time I Lied, which I actually got as an ARC through NetGalley from Dutton Books, and I absolutely like fell in love with this book. I had not read Final Girls yet, even though I had it on my shelf for like a year. This was the book that set me on that course of like, I love Riley Sager. This book is about a girl that she went to summer camp, and the 3 girls that she shared a cabin with, they all snuck out in the middle of the night and never came back. And I think it's like 15 years later, she goes back to that camp to try and figure out kind of like what happened. But there's a whole lot of other like really weird stuff that happens while she's there. And it's just so good. I don't know how much I can say without spoiling it because I don't remember like what all's a spoiler and what isn't. But this is another like 10 out of 5. It's so, so good. I would highly recommend anybody that likes mysteries, thrillers, just anything like that, like definitely read this book. And I thought that this was gonna end up being another like Peter Swanson scenario for me where I read the favorite one first and then the other ones are just like still good but not as good. That is not true. I read Final Girls after I read The Last Time I Lied, and I still loved this book. This is another 10 out of 5. Like, The way he writes these characters is so good. Like, you don't understand. The way he writes women is actually really, like, accurate. I think he doesn't make them like weaklings. He doesn't make them people that are like, oh, I wish I had a man to save me. And I really appreciate that about him, but he also gets like how we can sometimes be emotional and how we sometimes don't know what we're doing, and like, but that's with anybody, like men get that way too, but he makes his characters real, and I love that. Final Girls is about a girl that, I don't remember her name. I think I did this the last time I reviewed this. Quincy. Quincy was accidentally part of a mass murdering thing up in a cabin, or a mass murder up in a cabin where they were celebrating her roommate's birthday, and this guy started killing everybody that was there, and she was the only one that survived. And if you're familiar with horror movies, they call the people who survive, or girls that survive, final girls. Well, there are two other final girls who also survived mass murders, and they are dubbed the final girls. Well, they don't really keep in contact with each other, even though one of them really tries hard to contact the other two, but she ends up turning out dead, and they think that it was suicide. So it kind of turns Quincy's life upside down, because she's like, okay, well, like, if she was the upbeat one, if she was the one that was trying to get us all together, then like, what does that make me? Because I can't keep anything together. But out of the blue, the other final girl comes out of nowhere and is like, hey, we need to know each other just in case, like, this isn't an accident. And this was so good. I love this character. I love Quincy. I love the other final girl. I don't remember her name. But this was just such a really good detailed book. And like, again, these books are not huge. I don't know how these authors do this. They're not huge books, but they are so good, which has been my like theme this entire time. It's so good. But anyway, guys, these are my favorite thrillers and their authors, and if you all have any recommendations, definitely leave them down below. I would love to hear them, and I would love to talk to you all more about these in the comments as well. Don't forget to subscribe, please, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and the links are down below. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll talk to you next time. See ya!